Pickle, let's go to the hotline. Let's bring in the head coach of the 9-0 undefeated Normangee Panthers. We are joined by Coach Keith Sitton. Coach, how are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Doing excellent. How are things in the beautiful Brazos Valley?
It's pretty good right now. Things are going well.
Yeah, I certainly. You guys are 9-0 after going and getting a huge win on the road at Centerville, 56-26, off to a 9-0 start. You know, this is it comes a bit of a surprise to us. This is not where we thought that this district was going to shake out, but you guys have really taken command. Has this team exceeded your expectations so far this season?
Well, we felt like we had an opportunity to be successful. I mean, we knew we had a lot of skill coming back. I mean, it was a matter of how well our offensive line and defensive lines would gel with the kids that we lost. You know, so and they've really exceeded our expectations. I mean, you know, the thing about this group is they've played a lot of football. I mean, they've been starting a couple of these guys since they were freshmen. You know, so there's a lot of football that they've been played, and some of the issues that we had last year about finishing games, we've never. I mean, that's just stuff that's just kind of been like water off a duck's back this year. You know, the adversity that we've had to face, it's not fazed them, and we've just kind of powered right on through that.
I want to ask you a little bit about last year because you guys end up going 6-6 on the year. You win a playoff game over Hawkins, and then you run into St. Augustine, which is a team that has obviously been dominant there in Region 3. And I think most people might look at that and say, oh, well, you know, a second round, they get there and then they bounce. You know, what's the big deal? How important do you think it was for your guys to get that kind of high-pressure, important game experience, both in those late games in the season, you know, where you're trying to close out a playoff spot, and also with those two playoff matchups?
Well, the most important thing was we needed all the extra work. I mean, this was our first year in our offense, you know, first year in our defense. The kids were still learning system, you know, learning how we coach and how we approach things. You know, so getting those two extra games and getting all the playoff experience and the practices that go along with it was critical for us. But the high pressure situations, I mean, because you know the Hawkins game, we played chase until the fourth quarter, and we had to make some big plays and some big stops to make that change. And then you know the St. Augustine game. You know, we were like 17 down with the ball inside their 20 when we started the fourth quarter. I mean, our mindset was if, you know, just keep plugging and keep working towards it and just see where that got us. And our kids really, I saw a change really of like week 9 of our season as to how we approach things and our thought processes, and really the mental side of the game improved. And I just saw never quit in us in those last 2 games, and it's carried over this season.
Talking Keith Sitton, the head coach of the Normangee Panthers here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag TF Today. Coach, I want to ask you about your offense in a moment, but the defense really stands out to me. You know, last year this was a defense that, you know, hit and miss. Some games here that they really looked good, but other times where they struggled, ended up averaging about 31 points per game allowed. This year, it seems like that defense has taken a real step forward. What do you think has been the difference on the defensive side for you guys?
Well, I think being in our off season and our conditioning, number one. I mean, we hated that the season shortened last year with COVID. You know, because we were really, our continuity had really carried over. You know, so I think getting stronger, that was number one. Understanding our system, number 2, and then. You know, the confidence that I think we carried over from last season came right in. And I think we've played a lot faster. We've played a lot more physical than we did at any point last season. And that's really carried over. I mean, we have a lot of guys around the football. And, I mean, you know, when you have that kind of sellout effort, I mean, good things are going to follow.
I want to ask you about you moving to this job. You know, we haven't spoken since you took the job there back in December of 2018. You know, you were on the staff there at Madisonville as an assistant coach and also the baseball coach there. You move over to Normangee, and you read a lot of the press clippings from folks talking about what a good fit you are for Normangee. But I kind of want to flip that question around. What was it about Normangee that made it such a good fit for you?
Well, honestly, I really had no intention of getting back into the head coaching ranks. I thought I had scratched that itch at Leon, and I went over, to Madisonville for those 2.5 years and working under Coach Nell and the staff there. I mean, it really just kind of reinvigorated me, and being in that system and seeing how we did things under Coach Nell. I really just wanted to see how I could function, carrying that system out. And I mean, just coming over, I've been familiar with Normangee. I mean, I've lived, 20 minutes from there my entire life, so I think familiarity, knowing the community, and it just felt like the right place. And I think our administration here, I knew the principal at that time, the superintendent. I mean, it just felt like home, interviewing, and it's been that way since. I mean, they've been very supportive, the community and the administration. I can't ask for a better situation than we're in right now.
Talking with Keith Sitton, the head coach of the Normangee Panthers here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. Coach, obviously your offense has been really, really strong this year. Not necessarily surprising considering some of the weapons you guys had coming back. One of those guys is your quarterback, Mason Hardy, a guy who was an all-district guy last year, his third year as a starter there. Last week against Centerville, had a really nice game. The numbers are impressive, but as the guy who coaches them, as the guy who talks with them, sees them in practice, what is it about your quarterback Mason Hardy that makes him special?
He is probably the greatest team player I've ever coached. I mean, there is nothing more important to him than the Normangee Panthers and having the team be successful. I mean, we could move him to guard tomorrow, and he would take that role on wholeheartedly with a smile on his face and do that to the best of his ability. I mean, he's a natural leader in the on and off the field. He's probably a better kid than he is a football player. And I mean, I can't say enough about what Mason does for our program. He's definitely the face of who we are, and we definitely want him in that role because he's such a great kid.
Finally, Coach, you guys are not done. You're 9-0. You've wrapped up the district championship, first seed in the playoffs, all the fun stuff. But because 2020 is just the strangest season of all time, we've got to just add in some more wrinkles. You go back to week 2. You guys are taking on Garrison, playing the first quarter. Game ends up getting canceled due to lightning. You guys are now, this week, traveling to take on Groesbeck in a Week 11 non-district game. And on one end, you guys got everything locked up. You got the district championship, going to play first round of playoffs. You know where you're going. This game won't have any impact on that. On the other hand, you guys are chasing your first undefeated season since 1989. So how do you approach such a unique Week 11 matchup, non-district? On one hand, nothing on the line. On the other hand, a lot on the line.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. We're not going to play that game.
Oh, well, there you go. That makes things easier.
Flipped up on you.
Sorry, I'm looking at the schedule, and I was like, okay, well, hey, a non-district game with Groesbeck, okay.
I mean, when we scheduled that game,
Mm-hmm.
and then COVID happens, and so you set your district schedules, and then Groesbeck district absorbed our game, because they moved their district schedule forward, and when they did, they took that date from us. So we both had an open, and we moved our date forward too. We moved our last game with Groveton up to that day. So we both had that spot open, and we were kind of like, well, if we get to that point and we agree to play, then we'll play it. But I'm honestly, I mean, with COVID and, the risk of injury, I mean, everybody that I talked with, because I kind of polled around different coaches, and I really didn't have anybody that said you need to play that game.
Hey, listen, take it. That's absolutely. Well, then let me take that same question and flip it then, which is, How do you approach this week now that you've got? Coaches will say it's not an off week. It's a week without a game. Next game you're going to play is a playoff game. How do you approach this week, knowing now that you got everything settled and you want to get geared up for the playoffs?
Well, the hardest part is we really don't know who we're playing.
Yeah.
Our district is lined out and seeded out, but that district can go any number of ways still in the 2, 3, and 4 spots. So, we're going to be pretty generic in how we prepare as far as what we do offensively and defensively. But I mean, we are going to treat it a little bit like an off week, and we're going back fundamentally, trying to touch back on some things we're seeing on film that we need to correct. But we're kind of beat up, so we're trying to lick our wounds a little bit and get those back to where we need to be. And we've got to work on our kicking game. That's always a phase that you need to improve on. And we've gotten better in the last couple of weeks, but it's definitely a place where we need to concentrate on. So there's a lot of things that we can focus on and, continue to improve on.
He's Keith Sitton. He's the head coach of the 9-0 and finished with the regular season Normangee Panthers, their first undefeated regular season since 1989. Coach, congratulations on a fantastic year. Really appreciate your time, and enjoy the bye week, and best of luck in the playoffs.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.